Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name's Helen McIntosh, and I'm the president of the South East London Chamber of Commerce. We're really delighted today, so early in the new year, to be on a learning curve, because today's subject is called Mastering 2 KPIs for Sales and Marketing Executives. Marketing Excellence by Marketing Executives. And we have with us James Thomson, who's the CEO of Media Tasks, and he's a seasoned expert in small business sales and marketing. Doesn't look it, but James has over 20 years of experience and has transformed the sales strategies of numerous businesses across the UK. He's got a very innovative approach and combines traditional sales techniques with modern digital strategies, ensuring businesses reach their maximum potential. James is also very passionate about teaching, as is his partner and wife, Rebecca Thomson. And he's passionate about teaching and believes in empowering small business owners with the knowledge and tools they need to succeed in today's competitive market. It says it all. And there is a wonderful, wonderful deal from James and Becky. Media Tasks are going to give you a special offer, and you'll learn about it at the end, won't they, James?
Yes, they will. Absolutely.
So over to you and Becky. Over we go.
Fantastic. Thanks, Helen. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all here. Happy New Year if I haven't seen you in person yet. We've got a lot to cover today. We're only talking about 2 KPIs, but actually there's a lot going on. So I'm going to jump in and start sharing my slides in a minute. You should also have one of these, which is a workbook that we sent out, that Charlie was good enough to send out. And I know that was in today's email as well. So you still have time to grab that. If you didn't, you could even grab it later on, and just so you've got a place to make sure you've got all your notes and it's ordered, because we will be going through at pace. Also, we've added some KPI, some of our FAQs into this that we normally get asked. So there'll be, I think there's about 7 that we normally get asked. We're dealing with all of those. And if we don't get to that, if we don't get to your question, then we'll be definitely following up with you afterwards, and making sure that we get all those back. We've got Rebecca on the call as well, who will be able to help handle those inquiries. So we're ready to go. I'm going to share my screen. If you could give me a thumbs up, please. So can everybody see my screen? Perfect. Okay. Well, look, welcome to the Boost Your Business workshop. So I love giving this one at the beginning of the year, because what we're going to do is learn about 2 very clear KPIs that effectively anybody can implement in any business. And we'll show you a system, because we're not just going to tell you what it is that you need to do and why it is. We're actually going to show you as well. But I love doing it at the beginning of the year, because if you implement these things, and you don't need systems, flashy systems to do this, this is really about knowledge more than anything else. But if you did do this, you would dramatically improve what you're going to be doing in your sales and marketing. And it will, in terms of how it will transform your sales inquiries, it really getting them off to the very, very best start. And that's really what it's all about, because today we get overwhelmed in so many areas of our business. We get overwhelmed with lead management, which is basically inquiries coming in the door. How fast do we respond to them? How many times do we respond to them? What should we do to not get in the way? But if that's you as well, then you're not alone, and you're in the right place. The 2 key KPIs that we're going to be covering, and in addition to that, as Helen has said, we are going to be making a special invitation. And that's at the end with a big freebie as well, as promised, as mentioned by Helen. But the question I get asked is, why do I need to pay attention to this? The difference when I normally do this talk, sometimes I've done it face to face. This time we've been able to bring all of the data in, so you actually see the reasons why this is important from a numbers perspective. So for people like Yogesh, who's an accountant who loves the numbers like I did, little known fact, I did a maths degree, you're going to see why this stuff matters. And you're going to see very, very clear figures on actually these KPIs and why they are so, so important. Where is my mouse? There we go. The first one is inquiry response time. So inquiry response time, you get an inquiry through the door, how fast you get back to them. That's the first KPI. It's always, always the most important. Most people will ask us, yeah, but why is it so important?
I want my own version of Word.
Sorry? Okay, sorry. But why is it so important is the question here. You have effectively 5 minutes. 5 minutes during working hours generally to respond. And this is absolutely crucial. 78% of customers choose the company that responds first. Now, normally people will say, but hold on. What about if they're one of the most expensive? This stat from Lead Connect is actually, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be the cheapest. But if you're the most responsive and you get that within 5 minutes, then generally 78% of customers will choose you over a cheaper option who gets back to them later on. That's why that 5 minute stat is absolutely key. The second one, if you get the first minute, you're 391% more likely to actually win that deal and get a better conversion. So again, Lead Connect did a massive study on this. If you can get within that first minute, then you're 391% higher conversion rates, just from a time perspective. Delaying 5 minutes or more, which is pretty much where the majority of people live, means you get an 80% drop in lead qualification. Now, the important thing here is qualification, because at this stage, if you're responding in over 5 minutes, you don't actually, it takes you 5 times longer at least to know if this is somebody you should be dealing with. So you're chasing your tail and you don't even know if it's a qualifying prospect or not. That's why this is so important. And if you think about this, it stacks up from a human perspective, because if somebody's made an inquiry and they've had 2 responses already, they're already further down the sales engagement than they are with you who haven't even spoken to them yet. So they've already started to go through a qualification process. They've already started to answer questions. They maybe have done a bit of discovery. So they're into that process. They're into that engagement. And then along come you, and you want to start the process all over again. You want to drag them back. Well, they're not going to want that. They're not going to be happy with that. And so that's why delaying beyond 5 minutes, you get an 80% decrease in lead qualification. So the key takeaway here, before we jump into showing you how we do this, is speed. Speed to lead. Speed is absolutely crucial. Now, automation, which we'll see, does ensure you'll get a consistent approach here. But the last point is absolutely key as well. Team training is essential here. As I'll talk about later on, you can have all the systems in the world, but if you don't have an engaged team who's going to be working this, then it won't matter. They just won't do it. So team training is absolutely essential. But as promised, let's see it in action. So I'm now going to jump into our system and I'm going to actually show you how we do this and how we implement this on a day-to-day basis for other people. So you actually get an idea of it. So, okay. Can everybody see my screen? And we have change. If you give me a thumbs up, that'd be great. Yogesh, thank you, Yogesh. Perfect. All right. So what we're in now, we're in the dashboard for Growth Engine. So Growth Engine is a CRM system, and it's a CRM system which is particularly good at marketing because we are effectively a marketing agency. We have a whole demo video of working through Growth Engine and all its areas. So I'm not going to talk about that now, but what I'm going to do is jump into the automation so I can show you this. So workflows are, workflows are effectively automation sequences. They take people from one point of the business to another. And the ones we're particularly interested in this demo is as fast response. So let's have a look at that. So the example here we can see is we have a trigger at the very top and a call status here. So we've had a phone call into the business. You might have missed it. It's gone to voicemail or it's even busy. So what happens next. Now, in our systems, what happens is the system logs the phone call. So you never miss a call. And that happens immediately. We'll send them an email if we have them on the system, because the system recognizes their phone number. If we don't have them on the system and they phoned in on a mobile, then we'll send them an SMS immediately. We'll wait for the reply, and we've got 2 minutes here. So we're waiting, and we're waiting for 2 minutes. Remember, our 5 minute is key. Our 5 minutes is the guideline that we're working to. The first decision, did they reply to the SMS? If they reply to the SMS within 2 minutes, the system wants to know if it's positive. Now, we haven't had a human involvement here yet. There's no human. So the system recognizes whether it's yes or no. Question I normally get asked here is, do they have to reply yes or no? And the answer is no, they don't. Now we live in the AI world. The system can actually detect positive or negative responses in their entirety. So phraseology, okay? It will look for key phrases as well. So gone are the days of block yes or no's. If it's positive, if they replied, was it positive? If it was positive, we'll send them the link to book in. If the reply was not positive, we'll put them in for a follow-up so a human can get involved. And this has happened all within 5 minutes. Go back up. If they reply, no, they haven't replied within 2 minutes, what's going to happen is we're going to try to call them. So the system will automatically generate a call, and it will connect you first and say, Warren, do you want to talk? Do you want to talk to Paul, who's trying to call you? If you say yes, it will connect you. If you don't, it will just go straight to it will send them a voicemail. And the voicemails are pre-recorded, which is there. Lastly, because we haven't been able to get hold of them yet, we'll add a task to follow up. So we're making sure the team knows what's going on, and then we'll wait a day, and then we can add things as we go. So you can really make it your own. But the key thing here is really numbers. We're making sure that we're consistently getting back to people. And if we think about that key takeaway, speed to lead, speed to inquiry, absolutely key. This is an example of where an automation system can actually help you and make sure you're consistently delivering on that. But if you just took on board that 5 minute number and you trained your team to respond accordingly, to drop whatever they're doing and respond to that new inquiry, then you don't necessarily need a system like this. You can just do it straight away, and you can make that change today, straight after this call. And then you'll start to see a better, a dramatic improvement on your sales performance. So that's an example of that workflow. I'll jump back into the slides, and then we'll show you number 2. Okay, is everybody back with me with the slides? Great, okay, lovely. All right, so that was KPI number 1, sales response time. Sales and marketing, though, there's a saying, and the saying is, there's money in the follow-up. It's an Americanization, but it's very, very true, because there is money in the follow-up, because most people don't do it correctly. This, again, is something that we'll show you how to do it in a systems perspective, but you don't need the systems. You can, again, do this with Excel. Hey, Yogesh, you could use it in Excel. You could do, Warren, you could do it in a text document. As long as you can count to the number of follow-ups you need, which will show you, then you don't have to have systems like this. You can just do it straight off the bat. But sales follow-up is important. But why does it make KPI number 2 on our list? Well, persistence wins. If speed to lead is our catchphrase for number 1, there's money in the follow-up, and persistence wins is our catchphrase for KPI number 2. Because it's not about necessarily cheesy one-liners with sales. It's about showing up. And that's one of the things that people get dramatically wrong, especially Brits, unfortunately. Brits will typically say, I don't want to get in the way. I don't want to bother people. But if we look at the first stat on the reasons why that Marketing Donut came up with, great name, 92% of salespeople quit after getting 4 no's. So 92% of people get 4 no's, and that's it, and they're out. But 80% of business will say no 4 times before they say yes. So if you don't even get to number 5, then you're still fighting over 20% of the market. And that's why this is so important. As we just said, see, 80% of sales require at least 5 follow-ups. There we go. That was from a scripted study. Now, a question I normally get asked is this follow-ups or is this touch points? So you need to bear that in mind. So it takes an average of 8 follow-up calls to reach a prospect. Most people give up after 2. So that's an opportunity, because again, this is another thing. If you take it on board and pass to your team later on today and say, hey, right, our minimum is 8, you should really be for 12. But if you said our minimum is 8, then you're immediately opening yourself up to 80% of the marketplace instead of fighting over 20%. But 44% of people give up after 1, which is quite a frightening stat if you think about it. So 44% of people give up after just 1 follow-up call when they should be carrying on. Because when they carry on, just by carrying on and being persistent, they are actually opening themselves up to the vast majority of the marketplace. And again, from a humanistic perspective, it stacks up because things just get in the way. We're flooded with emails, SMSs, voicemails. Don't just get started on social media. So all of these things are coming in to our playbook here and our business day to day. So if you are somebody who's just basically making 1 call or maybe 2 emails and then saying, oh, they're obviously a time waster, just think of that. It's not they're a time waster. You just need to be more persistent in your follow-up. And as Brits, we do tend to get this wrong. So the key thing for mastering follow-ups, you got to follow up at least 12 times. At least 12. That's your number. Follow-up, though, does not necessarily mean 12 phone calls. So as we show you in the demo, you'll see that it's not necessarily 12 phone calls. It's going to be phone calls, emails, voicemails, SMSs. It's a mix. So the first one is 12 times, but it's not 12 calls. Second one is no gap longer than 3 days. So no gaps between them, between each touch point of 3 days. You want to be consistent. So no leaving it 2 weeks. If it's an active sales engagement, you want to make sure at least only 3 days. And it's stacked at the beginning more heavily, and then it tapers towards the end. Okay. And the last one is really you are using 3 communication channels. You are using email, SMS, phone, or messenger, or Instagram direct messages, if that's how they came through to you. So all of you're using a varied number of communication channels. But as promised, we're not just going to tell you, we're going to show you. So let's have a look at the second example so you can see, again, how we do it. Okay. Okay, we're back into Growth Engine. Is everyone with me on that? Perfect, thank you. Okay, so the second sequence we're looking at is sales follow-up. Very simple. So the context of this is we've had a sales engagement. We've spoken to them. We have pitched them. We have offered them a deal, and we're into the follow-up process. So the trigger here, because the trigger kicks off an automation, the trigger is a contact tag. That is basically just a tag that we've applied to them. It's very, very simple. And then that puts them into this sequence. So as we go through it, workflows traditionally were very linear, top down the bottom. Looks like a bit of a train track. You'd enter at the top and it works through a series of processes and it gets to the bottom and then it's done. This is different. We're now into behavioral. So what this basically means is the system responds to what they're doing or what they're not doing. And this is, we've had this for a few years now, but AI is making it even more prevalent. So effectively working to the top down, So they've come in, we've added a tag. A tag is a way of segmentation. If you're a marketer, you would know all about segmentation. Segmentation is all about labeling people and grouping them correctly, so we know what message they need to get, and we can follow up with them later on. That's why we segment, and then we segment with tags. We've tagged them, we've removed the trigger tag, bit of housekeeping, and we're into, I'll make it a bit bigger, we're into adding them into a custom audience. So again, this is all automatic. Bottom of funnel, BOF, BOF. We've got top, MOF, and BOF, but this is BOF. Bottom of funnel because they're closer to making a buying decision. So we don't want to show them top of funnel awareness stuff. It's all about bottom of funnel. So we drop them into a Facebook custom audience. We wait 2 hours and then a manual call. This is probably going to be different from what you're expecting, because the first thing that we'll do as a human is actually we'll phone them. And that's absolutely key to this. Why do we phone them is the question I always normally get asked next. And from a sales perspective, we call them because we want to get to the no. We want to get to the objection. We want to understand what they're thinking really early on. I don't want to know this after I've sent them 3 emails, 2 texts, and a voicemail, and it's 2 weeks later. I want to know now. I want to know as quick as I can. So they've had a sales engagement from us, and I've made a call. This will be a service-based call, but it's still a phone call, because asynchronous communication is the easiest way for us to get an understanding. And so if there's a particular objection around time, cost, money, something like that, then I want to know what it is so I can deal with it straight away. So remember this: a phone call is the very first thing that you will do. And again, it's not salesy; it's just checking in. Second thing I'll do is I'll email. So we've made a manual phone call, and now we've sent them an email. Again, service delivery. We're just following up, just making sure you got all the information that you need. Waiting 24 hours. So remember, only 1 day. If you remember that one of our key things was no more than 3 days. So we're within that. I'm going to send them another email, and I'm going to give them a case study. Case studies are always really good for bottom of funnel. We're showing them what we can do. Then I'm going to send them an SMS to tell them about the case study that's on their email. And then I'm going to wait again, waiting another 24 hours. And then we're into a decision. So the system will know up top, did they read the case study? So the system detects, did they read the case study? If they read the case study, it's going to put them down the left-hand side. So yes, if they read the case study, we're going to drop another voicemail onto their phone, message 4A. If they didn't read the case study, we're going to drop an alternative message onto their phone, 4B. Maybe that's one that's nudging them towards the case study. Okay. Whatever happens, we carry on. We send them another message on the correct side, and then we're waiting again. What happens over here is if they haven't read it, so they get a voicemail, different, they get a different email, and then we loop them back in, and then we're going again. So we send another another text message. So this is number 6. We're waiting another day. We're sending them number 7. Again, these are different. These are service delivery. We'll send them another 8. In 8, we'll make them a follow-up offer. Something that we know that they're interested in from discovery. Again, we'll wait again for 24 hours. And then we'll ask again, I need to make that a bit smaller. There we go. Did they take the follow-up? So the system's asking there, did they take the follow-up? Because it knows if they have. If they did, no, if they didn't, they go down the left-hand line. If they did, they're down the middle. If they didn't, it's our catch-all, it's on the right. But again, the system is responding to what they're doing or what they're not doing. So they're going to wait 24 hours. If they haven't, they get a different voicemail, again, completely automated. On this side, if they did, you're going to use the AI booking bot to book them in. Again, no human yet. And there's a condition, did they book in? Yes, they did, great. And if they booked in, we'll send them a review request. If they didn't, and they're over here on the left-hand side, we'll send them again a different voicemail. a different email, and now we're up to point 11. We're waiting a day, message 12. At this point, we're thinking, okay, probably not one for us at the moment. Waiting a day, we take them out of the Facebook audience because we don't want to waste ad money on them. And then, if you notice here, we've got our second manual call. So that's 2 human interactions over, well, more than 12 if we're including this now. One at the very top, up here, because we want to get to the no as quick as we can. So there's number 1. And then the very last thing we do, right at the bottom, is a manual call in number 2. Okay? So 12, 13 touch points there, varying ranges, not just on the phone, email, SMS, voicemail as well. And then we add a tag. They've gone through again, we're segmenting them. So we're adding a tag saying they've gone through the whole thing. And then we're adding them into a long-term nurture. So a long-term nurture sequence is basically where we're just keeping touch with them. So we're sending them some information once a month, once a quarter, something like that, whatever fits for your industry. But this way, we're making sure that they're not lost. They're not lost within the system. Everybody's getting followed up in some way, even if it's elongated past that point. So that's a second example. And I am going to jump back into the slides. Okay. We're into the home stretch. Queries. Here are the questions we get asked the most when it comes to these learning points. Do we need flashy systems? I hope I've answered this already enough, because the answer to this question is no, you don't. I'm probably talking myself out of business here, but from a learning perspective, to these KPIs, they are the evergreen KPIs of sales and marketing. These things, you do not need flashy systems. The systems will help, absolutely. But you can implement these things with Excel, Google Sheets, Notepad, whatever it is. If it's training is absolutely key. And that's what I really want to get through here. It's for the larger programs that we do, I will say, by the way, we do offer training comes as part of it, but you don't have to have training you don't have to have, flashy systems for this to work. These KPIs are independent. It is much more about, if it's a sales inquiry, get to it within 5 minutes, get to it within 1 minute if you can. If it's a sales follow-up, you've got to follow up at least 12 times. Phone call first, no more than 3 days. It's simple as that. Point 2, no system can fix a disengaged team. Absolutely not. It can't, because we can implement all the systems in the world, all the new processes in the world. But if the team is disengaged, if they don't know why they're doing it, then it just won't work. FAQ 2, do we need to be sales experts? You might be surprised with the answer here, because the answer is no. You don't need to be a sales expert. You don't need to be Jordan Belfort. You don't need to be a whiz with cheesy one-liners. You just need to be persistent. If you think about the sales follow-up slides that we were talking about, 80% of business is one post-fifth touch point, right? And we get to 3 touch points in the very first 2 days, right? Phone call, email, voicemail, right? Your sales is really about turning up, being persistent, following a process. That's really what it's about. And then when you do that and you get in the understanding of knowing your numbers, again, sorry, Yogesh, I'm pulling on an accountant, but all right, this is so true. If you actually know your numbers and you know that in your sales engagements, most of them take 8 weeks, again, pulling numbers out of the sky, but if they say 8 weeks and it takes you 7 calls, 7 touch points to get hold of somebody, then you'll be very happy to get to that point. But if you know your numbers, then it makes happier reading. Will this suit my industry? Is something. Will these KPIs suit my industry? Yes. These really are universal. These 2 KPIs are key to any engagement. And I've said on the end, it's not B2B or B2C. It's human to human. These are grounded in humanistic behavioral things. People always love to be responded to very quickly. We all do. Nobody wants to stand in line and wait, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a consumer offering or if you're a business offering. Nobody wants to be, slow to get service. And then they want to feel important. And how you make somebody feel important and you really back what you're doing is you follow up. And that's why these things, it doesn't matter what the industry is, it still works. And really, at this point, the FAQs for the learning are done, and it's really kind of over to you. Because in 2024, as we begin the new year, I've told you these 2 KPIs. I've shown you what you can do, and I really do hope that I've rammed home. You can do this in Google Sheets if you need to, but it's really over to what you want to do with it. Here's your opportunity. So this is my pitch. It's going to take about 30 seconds. Everybody gets a 14-day free trial. And at the beginning of this process, when I had a chat with Helen, I said, we're going to give away one of the sequences. Because if you came to us and said, James, can you build us one of these sequences out, including copywriting and everything else, and getting to know your business, it costs about $5,000. And I said to Helen, we'll drop in one of these demo sequences. So we'll give that to you for free, but we're not going to do the copywriting. So then we'll half it. So we'll say it's worth $2,500 because it is. But what we're going to do now is we're going to give you both. So if you come on board and you give this a trial, and you let Charlie know, or you come through and let us know, then we'll drop these sequences into your account for free. No fee at all, the ones you've seen. And you don't need to have Facebook audiences and everything else set up. We can skip those bits if we need to. And we are on hand to help you get to grips with these. And in order to help you get to grips with these, we're giving away 3 of our one-to-one onboarding sessions. And these ones really, really are important because these systems, it's all about the uptake. You have to use them. You have to go right in and use them. And that's what it's about. So the onboarding is an extra special gift in there as well, but it's only for the first 3. I'm afraid I can't giving that one away. But thank you for joining us. The URL that you need is growthengine.business. So if you go to growthengine.business, you can get your free trial there. It's a 14-day free trial, so nothing comes out of your account. You will get if you're one of the first to get the onboarding, then we'll arrange that as well, and we'll drop the sequences into your account. And you've got 14 days to give it a try. And then there's copious amounts of support, chats on 24/7 to help you there as well. And then we do also get asked questions about the system. So I'm going to very, very quickly cover those off. How much does it cost? This is always the number one. So 3 plans, depending on the size of business you're at. So 97, 297, 497. It really depends where you are. And we have specific versions as well. But we do a small business one for 97 that includes the automations. So if that's what you're at, that's what we'd say go with. You pay monthly or annually. There's no lengthy contracts. Will it work with our existing systems is the next question we normally get asked the most. Well, if you're one of 6,000, then the answer to that question is yes. And so generally, yes, we cover off those. For anything custom, we do a lot of custom work as well. We have an application program interface, so we can work to custom systems if we need to. Maybe you have an old legacy system that you want us to work with. We can do that too. Or it can actually work standalone. So you don't have to have any other systems. So if you are on Excel, Google Sheets, something else, then it can upgrade. We can just migrate you straight in. So you don't have to have other systems tied into it, but there's copious amounts of ones that do. What happens if we leave? Very simple. Well, just like any other SaaS, software as a service, you just export your data before you go. Simple as that. It's a rolling 30-day agreement. If you pay monthly, it's rolling yearly if you pay yearly and get that discount. But it's just like any other software company, just like any other software as a service. Last one. I always save this one for the last one because it's, is it for me? Tough one to answer, especially in 3 points. But if you don't have any kind of CRM system in place, or you're one of the 60% of people who have a CRM system in place, but you don't use it, because you don't know how and the hand holding's not there, then yes, then this system, yes, could absolutely be for you. If you're not hitting your sales and marketing KPIs, we've mentioned 2, there are a lot more, but if you're not hitting those regularly and you need one that's going to help you do that and nudge you in the right direction, yeah, absolutely, then this can be helpful for that too as well. The last one is if you're growth minded. It sounds a bit silly, but we do come across businesses who they're happy with where they are, and so they maybe want efficiency, so they might go for the smaller program, but they don't necessarily want massive growth. So they would not think, okay, that's not for me. But if you're any one of these 3, then generally the answer is yes. But that's all I have for you today. I'm happy to take on any questions that we haven't already covered, or if you'd like to drop those over on an email or to Charlie and he can forward them on to us, then I'm really happy to do that. But thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, James. We could just take the screen down, and I'm just going to see if we do have any, and if anyone does ask a question, can you put the little yellow hand up, please? Samantha. Oh, it's a clap. It's a clap. Sorry. My glasses. Apologies. I'd like to ask a question. I haven't put the hand up either, but here I go. It's absolutely fascinating. And now what a, so that maths degree is really being put to good effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it really is, and I've really sussed it out. I've known you for years, but it is that maths degree, and that's where it all comes from, the passion.
Yes.
Data, wonderful. But can I just ask a question? Everything you're doing, when you talk about 5 days, is that Monday to Friday?
In terms of response times, or
yeah,
that is a good question. That would depend on the industry that you're in. So if you're an industry that typically works weekends or is a consumer based, then you would be going 7 days.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're outside of that, you B2B, you're like, Warren, you're dealing with corporates, you're like Yogesh, you're dealing with corporates, and you're Monday to Friday, then no, it's Monday to Friday. Because otherwise you'd be in a situation of calling somebody on Friday and then ringing them on the Monday.
So you bespoke it.
Yeah, you just basically make it working days. You just change it up and make it working days instead.
Right. So Samantha's gone from a clap to a question.
Sorry, I pressed the wrong emoji. Well, for cold leads, is it still that same? Because most of our leads are cold. We're doing a lot of cold outreach, but I personally do worry about contacting them constantly because they haven't asked anything of us. So is there that borderline of harassment when they're cold?
Okay, good question. So what I've showed you is inquiry response. So they've come in. Cold is different. Cold is... Sorry, we are live. You can tell I've now got somebody outside the window. But if you... we are live. If you can still hear me, good. Okay, so cold engagements are different. So you would definitely first call first is still yes. Okay, Samantha. And then the second thing to that is it's a slightly different approach, although things like within 3 days still stack up. And if you think about the situation where we exist, that we get overwhelmed from so many different areas in our life, you could ring somebody, every day, every other day, and we really tend to keep going until they say no. Is really the long and short of it. But the key response for cold is phone first, still phone first. From a service delivery, it's still phone first, and just really keep going. Touch points, in number of touch points for a cold engagement, you're looking at, it's like 40 plus for a cold engagement, for perfectly cold. So you're basically phoning people up. What industry you're in, Samantha?
Marketing.
Okay, all right, right. So exactly. So I can speak from experience. So yes, absolutely. You've got to be looking at, I would put together, again, something that we do. So we'll put together a multi-step sequence. you're going to have 25 touch points. It's going to be over 3 weeks. And then after that, we will either put them into a long-term nurture and circle back to them 3 months later, 6 months later. But you absolutely want to do that. Keep going, is what I'd say. Keep going. And then drop them into a longer-term nurture and then circle back later on. But if you do that, the one thing I'd also say is in cold engagements, as you're varying it up, so you're doing email, SMS, LinkedIn, probably, you want to make sure that you're going to have quite a high number of things to do. So don't overload your number of contacts that you're trying to reach out to. You want to basically keep that to, say, batches of 20, 25.
Okay.
And then that makes it a lot more manageable. You don't have to do 25 LinkedIn videos every day. Right. That's coming.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any more yellow hands? We have Yogesh's hand.
Hi, James. Hi,
Hi,
James.
Yogesh.
Thank you, Helen. Morning. It's a great presentation, James. I just wanted to ask you, I might probably have to speak to you personally. I was just wondering, January is really a busy time for us with all our, assessment deadlines and all that stuff. I was just wondering if I could speak to you sometime in February. Can I just call you and have a chat with you? Or am I happy to come down to the office? Is that okay? Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Any more questions? Everyone's very quiet. Well, I think everyone's thinking. We've certainly learned a lot.
Thanks, Helen. Yeah, there's a lot to take in on it. And even though it's only 2, it's...
Yeah.
But the numbers are key. But grab the PDF if you need to, and then you'll be able to... There are some extra notes in there as well.
We would love to. And as I say, we'll put this, this was going up on the website, later today, and Charlie be in touch with everyone. Well, we've really, Charlie be quaking. Okay, so I'm going to say thank you very much to James and Rebecca.
You're welcome.
And
Thank you
I think
very much.
we've learned a lot today, and we'll get cracking. So I'd like to say, let's go to say to James, Rebecca, lovely. And I'm just going to give a couple of plugs before everyone goes. Forthcoming events. I know many of you go to the, we've got the Greenwich Business to Business, and that's coming up. That's at the Greenwich Tavern. That's coming up on Tuesday, the 6th of February, 6:30 onwards. Now, anyone who wants to navigate your business lease, tricky ones these. Thackeray Williams, 2 of the partners, will be talking to us about this on Wednesday, 21st of February, another webinar between 10 and 11. And what is a lovely thing, on Wednesday, the 28th of February, in person, we're all off to Ignition Brewery networking event in Sydenham. Ignition Brewery is wonderful. It's a brewery that's set up for people with learning disabilities. So they brew the beer, they run the tap room. It's wonderful, really motivational. And it's quite easy to get to because it's in Sydenham and it's quite close to the station. So that's what we're doing, and that's 6 till 8. So I've done my plugs and we're off. I'm off to do some work, but thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks, James. Thanks,
Bye.
Helen.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.